Sarah, I want to talk about kind of the genesis of this trip, this awesome trip to Kenya that we're a little removed from now, but from what I've understood, it started with the Olympics and a bracelet. Can you fill in the gaps there?
The Olympics, it's full of high pressured situations. There's excitement, there's nerves, and there's one scenario that really stood out to me. And we had Kenya in our pool. We played them second, and I think we ended up beating them. It was either before or after, I don't really know, but everyone kind of gifts pins and different things throughout the villages. But Gaudencia, one of the girls from the Team Kenya, I just remember getting water, and she's like, "Hey, like, here's a bracelet." And it sounds like so, it's just like a bracelet, but just the way that she handed it to me, and to me, it just felt like there was so much joy and love and genuineness. And I think I just was not expecting that, because come the Olympics, it's like, it's go time. We're not we're competitors, we're not friends. But when she handed it to me, it almost felt like just like a friendship bracelet. And I felt like, that moment really stood out to me, in my entire Olympic experience. And it stood out to me, I was reflecting on it even, months prior. And, it just brought me back to really the true meaning of sport. I think as elite athletes, we get really caught up in, wanting to win and the competition and trying to get, 1% better. But, at the end of the day, really, sports is so much more than that, so much more than the field of play. It brings people together, families, communities, and, it brings hope and opportunity to, people like me, just the places that I've been able to go and experience just because of volleyball is something I would have never dreamed of. And so, but really when she gave it to me, I was like, there's just this love and joy that I can't really explain, but I want to feel that, especially like having that attitude in such a huge situation like the Olympics. And so that memory, that core memory stood out to me. And so after the Olympics, I teamed up with my agent, and, just like a lot of agents are like, okay, like sponsors, let's try to like search for some. And I remember just getting on the phone call, and I was like, I know that we can go get sponsors, but I really want to dive into the philanthropy side. And, we talked about it, and he brought up a faith-based organization called World Concern. And World Concern, they go to the most poverty-ridden areas in the world, and they transform these villages, and they bring water, and they don't even just bring food and just the basic needs, but they actually get to know these communities and see what they actually need and help them and give them the resources and tools and education programs. And so basically, like, what they valued is what I valued. And it just so happens that they work in Kenya, and with them transforming these villages and me really believing that sports does transform lives. And the more I reflected after the Olympics, I'm like, I really feel like there's a connection here. And I teamed up with them at the end of 2022. And once I kind of talked to them about my interest in Kenya from the Olympics, I really felt like it was, I don't know, a God's way of saying, like, let's make this trip happen. And it happened so quickly. I mean, we went, I partnered with them in December, and, we were on the road in May.
I really enjoyed reading about your thoughts on finding more of a balance between, volleyball and life, and not having the volleyball kind of overtake all of it. And
right.
It seemed like this might have been something that really kind of helped you reconnect with some of the other life things through volleyball almost.
Mm-hmm.
But how did this trip help you find more of that balance with volleyball and life?
Yeah, I think balance is a huge thing that I've, been prioritizing after the Olympics. I think my whole life it's been volleyball, and my identity was in volleyball. And I think this trip it really has changed my life. I think a lot of people ask me, like, after any trip, like, how was it? And I can confidently say it was like the best trip I've ever been on. And I think it's because, as athletes, it's all about us, and it's all about trying to get better and getting that medal and getting on the podium. But I've really noticed that the more that I can give back to other people and really have just a purpose that's higher than myself, it brings me more joy than I would have ever expected. And so, after coming back and just seeing the absolute joy that came from these kids, faces, it's really incomparable to any win that I've ever had on the court. And I mean, I probably wouldn't have been able to say that, 3, 4 years ago. But yeah, I just get so much joy out of the fact of giving to other people, because I think as athletes, we're constantly taking and taking and taking. So as much as I can, I would encourage people to, if they can, whether it's going to Kenya or these remote places or just anything, like the more you give to other people, just kind of reflect, like, how do I actually feel?
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the people that you met, some
Yeah.
of the work that you did, and some of the biggest impacts and takeaways in kind of those day-to-day parts of life in Kenya where you were doing so much? It seemed like every single day. Can you give me some of the specifics there?
From the moment I met Garancia, and just the bracelet, I just felt like there was so much love and joy there. And when I went to Kenya, like right when I got off the plane, just them, greeting me at the airport, and I just felt like I was meeting my best friends. Like it was just like, oh, I haven't seen you in 2 years. Like, let's go, let's tour around your country and just see what it's all about. And they really reflect the Kenyan people just from that one gesture at the Olympics. And my entire stay there, I just felt so much love and joy from the people. And the places that I was able to go to, we went to the Mukuru village on like the third day, and it's the most poverty ridden area in Nairobi. Just being able to go over there and gift volleyballs, nets, and just bring hope to these kids. I mean, I think yeah, it just brings, yeah, you just don't even know how much joy it's bringing them, like how much it's changing them, but it's changing you at the same time. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from being in Kenya and meeting all the people and all the different villages is like you can find joy in the most horrible circumstances. I think it was the Olamagili village, and this was, I mean, like I said, 3 hours away from any civilization. You're going through dirt roads. There is no path. You're in a Land Cruiser. Like if you if you get car sick, this is probably not the place to be. 4 villages and all their livestock were drinking out of this. I mean, it was like a pond, you could say. And they took us to the pond, and I mean, there's mosquitoes and algae and just murky water, and you're looking at this, and they're like, we drank, we like bathed with this, we drank with this, our livestock drank from this. And so it almost like it choked me up, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, here we swipe our credit card, we turn on the faucet, and that's it. And so and they were saying, like, in order to get clean water, like they would have to go 18 miles up, like scale a mountain, go over, whether that's like with their mules or not, or carrying it. And so like all this information I'm just like soaking in, because it's just, yeah, it's just something that we don't have to think about. And so World Concern has, worked with them for a while now. And so they put in a solar panel filtration system. And so now they have like a 500-gallon tank that holds the cleanest water. But, we went to we visited the Marijo and Loita primary schools, about 250, 300 kids. And I love all the information, but these kids, they have to trek about 3 hours a day to get to school. So an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. And these kids are like 6 years old, and you're going up to the school, and they're, you see them on the roads, just like on dirt roads, or like, any obstacle, rivers, anything, like they're going because, education is so important to them, but like they have to do this day in and day out. And but when we got there, it was basically an exhibition match between the two high schools. And I learned that they share a volleyball between themselves, just one. And you can kind of see in my blog post, but the net the court that they had was like 2 sticks with like a fishing net, like attaching it, and that's what they played on. And so when I partnered with World Concern and we were going on this trip, they lugged out all this sand and this entire brand new beach volleyball court for them. And so it was just to arrive at the school and see that, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is absolutely amazing. I would never have thought like in 10 years that we're going to be bringing this beach volleyball court to a place so remote, like 19,000 miles away from where I'm from. But So we get on the court, and it was just, I think the thing that touched me the most was, I talk about like volleyball is such a universal language, and I don't know Swahili, but when I stepped on the court with these kids, it's like it is a language, and it was cool to just see them open up with an encouragement or like a high five, and uh, I noticed that like after they got like a point, like they would gather around and like shake hands, and but it was interesting because when they didn't get the point, it was just like no one did anything. And I was just like, no, like me and Gaudensi were like, no, like it's okay. Like it's okay that you messed up. We're all concerned, the staff and the Kenyan team, we were all just kind of like sitting back and watching. And the little elementary school kids were all around the court, and, like they're kind of silent. They don't really know what's going on. And, but, by like the 14th, 15th point, like we were teaching them like, okay, after, this, after they don't mess up, like, like cheer them on, or, you're teaching them the game a little bit, or like how to encourage their own classmates type thing. And it was just cool. But by like the 15th point, they're screaming and running to get the ball, and like they're completely involved. And again, it just shows like sport is such a universal language, and it brings communities together. It brought these schools together, and just this, yeah, and it just is amazing because it's one ball, one ball really, and a net can change everything, and it can bring hope to these kids that, are waking up in survival mode, and, I think sports, it allows kids to, we hear so many stories about them getting out of poverty and gang affiliations and addictions and, or, addictive families, all these crazy stories that we hear. And I think it's powerful. And I think it's something that we should all kind of look to focus on more. Our society focuses on the 2% of people, of amazing athletes, like not discrediting them whatsoever. But I think there's just got to be more stories, because I don't think we're not really seeing how powerful sports is.
What's your perspective on the universal language of sport as it happens with volleyball, and how it might be different from, say, football or golf or something like that? Is there a specific way you view it with volleyball?
The biggest thing that I saw was, beach volleyball is so interesting because there's two of you. But I came from an indoor side. I played indoor, 15 years of my life. And there's something so powerful about volleyball because you have everyone working for a common goal. But I think any team related sports, I think, is so important because I just remember as a kid, like you feel like once you step out on the court, like you feel like you have a purpose in your life. Like you feel like you belong somewhere. You have teammates that hopefully love you, maybe, they get upset or, but yeah, you have that common goal, and yeah, you should feel valued. And I think you learn so much with team sports. And I think it's so important for for everyone to know that they have a purpose and that they belong and that they're valued. And so I think whether that's volleyball or football or there's soccer, those big sports, I think it brings everyone together. And I think what was so powerful about this trip to Kenya was, not in a million years would I have thought I would be traveling to Kenya and getting to play with the Kenyan national team players. And I visited some of the national team indoor, as well as obviously the beach, and I got to play alongside them. I'm like, I would never have thought that. We played in the Olympics against you, but it was just something. It really just showed me that like sports it can bring people together and communities and countries together. And I've always thought that it's very interesting that the Olympics, it brings obviously countries and continents together, and but it's only 2 weeks. I just don't think we're like capitalizing on just how powerful it is. Like I think it's everyone tunes in for the 2 weeks, and then we're like, okay, your country, you're going over there. But I feel like there's so much more that we can tap into there. And when you think of like a political party, like say it's Democrat or Republican, and you're like having this argument, like in a classroom or something, and you have your disagreements, and then nighttime comes and you have, say, like a UCLA basketball game. It's like those two same people that were arguing, you would never know. They step foot into this arena and it's like nothing ever happened. It like really just like, that's also something that I've just been reflecting on, and just how cool it is. I mean, like what else does that? What else, can take someone that is so, two people that are so disagreeing on powerful subjects, and then you step foot into this game. I think the trip to Kenya really just showed that, sports is just, it really does, should bring people together more than just, 2 weeks out of every 4 years.
I'm wondering if there is a specific memory of, one of your interactions with people
Yeah,
while
yeah.
building the well, or one of your interactions with one of the kids
Yeah.
at the volleyball court. Is there one or a couple that stick out in your mind? Oh,
The biggest one that probably sticks out to me the most is going to the Makuru village, which was just, I wish I could just take my eyes and give them to to you, but this court and these kids are trudging along in mud and, just trash everywhere. Just, yeah, something you can't even imagine. But, these kids are, gathering around the court, and we were taking out the volleyballs. The two high schools were kind of warming up, and there's just like a group of three little boys. They were probably 4 to 7 years old, and so everything's new, and so they're kind of walking along, and they see these volleyballs, and I don't know. I just instantly was like, let's teach them how to pass a volleyball, and so we took them, and we're trying to get their hands together, and when tossing them and trying to pass the ball with their platform. But yeah, just to see again, the joy and the happiness that came from that one little gesture. They were just, yeah, their eyes just lit up. And again, it's just, I don't even know if they've seen a ball before. These are the towns that you see the kids, taking a stick and like whacking a tire type thing. Like they don't know what this is. And just to be able to, present a volleyball or a couple to a village like this, like I have again, I can't tell what it's going to do. But I know that day, I hopefully it brings them a little bit more happiness. And so that, yeah, I mean, I think after that they were all sold in on the volleyball, and but it was cute. I think these kids, they just want to be seen and they just want to be loved, just to kind of bring a little bit of joy and something new. Everyone loved it. I mean, I think just people came out of the woodworks from their different shops and were watching and having a good time and cheering on their local high schools. So but those kids, I think, yeah, it kind of just takes you back to like where I learned to pass my first volleyball, and that was with my dad, and it was in a completely different circumstance, but just to be able to give that back to them, and just to see their faces, I think, like I said, it brings so much more joy than I could have ever than winning any match. You get so caught up in your career, and 5 years goes by and 10 years goes by, and you think about, oh, it'd be nice to give back and do something. But I just knew, and I told my parents, I was like, I don't want to wait until I'm 45 years old to call it quits and now give back. Like, what's 1 week out of my entire season to give back to a community like this? And I'm so glad I did it. And I mean, I would encourage all the professional athletes to do that, because it really resets your life, because you get so, again, you get so caught up in that, trying to get better and win. And I think I'd love them to just experience a completely different joy. And I would say it's going to be better than what they would experience on a podium, which is hard for probably a lot of the athletes to kind of put themselves into. But yeah, I wholeheartedly believe it's better joy.
you wrote that you reflected on the why when you were on the flight back to LA, and I guess the follow-up would be, has that changed at all in the time since your trip?
Right when I got off the plane and I was in the car with Gaudencia and Blackie, and I asked them, I was like, why do you love Kenya so much? And they said, the love and the peace that they show each other. And I felt that the entire time I was in Kenya. And I think it's so cliche to say when you come back to the US. It's like, oh, like we're lacking love here. But it's it's just so true. I mean, I think we get so caught up. There's so much noise in our culture these days with the social media, and I feel like we're just a very narcissistic society here. And you go over to Kenya, it's like I don't even think they have a mirror. Like they don't have a phone. There's like no electricity, no water. So it's like they have to communicate. They have to work together. These villages have to work together to get water and to farm and basically to survive together. And so just to see the love that they have for each other. And it jogs my memory about we were at the Makuru village and Blackie came a little bit late and I was like, oh hey, like how's it going? And she's like, well, I was on my way. She was driving like, I don't know, an hour or two to get there. And she was like, oh, it had rained the night before. And she's like, oh, I saw a little boy walking to school and, he was completely drenched. And, I stopped on the side of the road, gave him my jacket and came here, just asked Gaudensi to bring me one. And it was like, not just like, oh, like I stopped on the side of the road. And, it was just so genuine. And it was like, this is what we do here in Kenya. It's like, we help other people that need it. And, it's just the things that I saw there. And, it made me want to stay. Like I've never, been to a different country. I mean, like, I don't even want to come back. Like it was a complete like culture shock, it just showed me like the simple life is the best, the less noise, the best. And, these people just had so much faith in God and so much just love for their family and community. And it just kind of, made me realize like, that's all we really need. And, they just count themselves so like they're so blessed because they have those two things. And I think, we take that for granted here. I've noticed and I believe that like nothing is going to satisfy us. No win's going to satisfy us. We're always going to be on to the next thing. We always want the next phone. And I think what does satisfy us is our love for God and that he will provide and that he's with us and our families that he provides, that he's given to us. I love Kenya and I hope to go back there. What I would probably say to people is, I think I just challenge them to take their eyes off themselves. I think growing up, my eyes were always on me. I was trying to be the best, which is, like any athlete's trying to do is be the best and, get to the top. And, I think when you're able to take your eyes off yourself and put them on someone else and serve them and help them, I would say that again brings more joy than people really realize. Count your blessings. I think it's so easy to wake up and just really start the day and get going and, I need to do this and that. But I think when you can just wake up every morning and thank God that you're alive, and that you're breathing and you have your health and you have a good family. I think, I just challenge everyone in the morning. I think right when you wake up, I think all of our brains are like phones, this, that, kids. And I think if we can just take 10 seconds to just be grateful, that we have the littlest things that like these people in Kenya do not have. But even if they do not have it, they still have so much love and they still have so much joy in the most simplistic things. So I think that's, I would say, just to sum it all up, like take your eyes off yourself and serve others and be grateful every day for the day that you've been given.